Okay. Okay, just 1 second. I'm trying to set up. So we are live on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Facebook is having a little bit of trouble. So I'm trying to figure it out because the screen just looks black. Yeah. I don't know why. Okay. We're going to try it again. Just 1 second. Sorry, guys. Hi. Hey, Manager John. How's it going? Hi, Baby Zips. So glad to see you. Okay, I'm just going to hope that Facebook is working, even though it's actually completely blank. And I don't really know why it's blank. Oh, okay. Manager John says that he was on LinkedIn, but it wasn't working. Oh, I did not know that. So that is good to know. Thank you so much. It says it is working on my side, so I don't know why it is not, but it's good to know. I'm gonna wave back to you. So thank you so much for joining. We're doing a live Q&A session, and just wanted to talk about what our investment criteria is and answer some questions. So please feel free to send them over, and we'll be answering them kind of as we get them, okay? So so the first question that we have, actually first we wanted to explain what our fund does. So our fund, what it does is that it is based here in Canada. We invest in Canada as well as the US, and we want to ensure that we have investments on both sides, and we want to be able to invest as follow-on investors. So it's best if you actually come with a lead investor already, because that makes it a lot easier for any follow-on investors, including ourselves, to help close deals. So that is completely ideal for us. So lead investors, usually they will tell you that they are leading. It just means that they are responsible for a lot of the deals, the due diligence, how to get other rounds and everything. So you do want a very powerful lead investor. That would be great to have, because that is something that make or break your kinds of investments. And it also gives a good trigger as to how your investment round might go in the future. So for your Series A, B, C, D, E. We write $25,000 checks, so that's usually in general for us. The valuation is between 1.5 and about $2 million. So to have different ones, that would be awesome. And yeah, so we also do follow-on investments. So if you have, a great business and you need more investments in the future, that is also something that we do. So I'm trying to rejoin Facebook right now, so then it will work. But I don't know if it is working. It's available to watch on my timeline. I don't know. I'm going to enter broadcast and try and go live again. Okay, so yeah, and so then if you do have businesses that are in those realms, please make sure that you send us over your pitch deck and your email, and we'll do our best to help you. So our first question is from James Way. So James had a great question. It is, how does one answer an investor's seed round who asks for ROI? So that is a really, really good question, because ROI, return on investment, is something that is very well known, but not as much for seed rounds. So it really does depend on your industry. He goes on to say, it just seems silly making a hockey stick projection when we're gaining traction with small revenues and MVPs, so minimal viable product. For SaaS, it might be easier, but for a biotech company, we are talking much long-term to development in the roadmap. So that is a fantastic question. Talking about ROI at such an early stage, like seed stage, is completely very, very difficult to do. It is very few kinds of investors and industries that would be able to be doing that. So they're either used to doing that, no matter what industry it is, and therefore they are not maybe experts in the industry that you need for your kinds of investors, or perhaps they need to have just a few more kinds of different deals within that industry in order to kind of see what the ROI potential is. So answering ROI in terms of money and customers may be really hard if you are in kind of a long-term play like biotech is. So few of our angel partners would specialize in that for this reason, because it is really hard to judge on your ROI at such an early stage. Usually you won't be able to judge for years. And even then you need clinical trials, you need patents, you need all of this scientific research and studies to make sure that what you have does exactly what it's saying, right? Whereas for things like SaaS companies and apps and things like that, it is much easier to find your ROI because you'll have a customer base much sooner, much quicker, and at a much easier kind of pace. So, yeah, and so then what else is also happening here is that you do want to make sure that if you're able to then argue your ROI in a different way, as opposed to money and customers, that you're doing that in a way that still kind of shows that you are going forward and that you're moving up. Not necessarily a hockey stick projection, but in some way advancing it. Okay. So when we start gaining traction, revenues, MVPs. All right, great. So that was a fantastic question. So thank you, James. Okay, so looking for our next question. So looking for our next question. So our next question is, and for those of you on Instagram, you can also type in the comments and I'll be able to see your questions. Okay, so our next question is from Nikhil from Flocks, and he's from India. So it's a censor-resistant, secure social media. During registration, the users do not provide any personal data, and the project does not require any permissions when using mobile apps, location, and their other consents. The user's ownership of his data. So raising a bridge round in order to expand and get into a big market. What do you think? So of course it is very on trend right now, especially with things that are going on in certain markets like the US, that data, social media, and privacy are things that are very important and very high in discussion. So how much of your data should be given out? What, when, why, and why not? Why is it that you can, oh, thank you. Why is it that you can censor certain things and not censor certain things? So being able to provide a new social media that is doing that, what I really think is how fast you're going to be able to get to market, how many people can you capture, and how many people find the usability, the shareability, the, it's called low-so-mo in the Valley. Is it local, social, mobile? All of these things. How is it doing in a way that will attract the audience, retain it better than the current ones that are out there? So are the conglomerates like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, I hope I don't get shut off by saying this, YouTube, Google, all of these different social medias, what they are using our data for and how it makes the consumers feel. So you and me, how does it make us feel? Is that much worse than what you are providing in terms of how I'm going to be using it as a consumer in the future, and how much benefits do I see going forward, right? So it can't just be a little bit better. This is one of the things that we call it has to be 5 times better. So I hope that helps. That is a really good question, Nikhil, and it's a very interesting market. For sure, it's proven as a very big market. You just have to be able to provide and prove your timeline, your speed to market, and your user adaptability. Okay, so Hamir Singh, startup is Jarib. Hi, Harry Khan. How are you doing? I'll wave back to you. So from India, so his product is a Jarib app, app live for land measurement, which also provides land slash lease, okay, sale of machinery. All right, so it provides, I think it's written a little strange. Let me try this again. So it provides the sale of land or lease, as well as machinery and other agricultural equipment. So planning to launch in the agricultural machinery rental feature online by last year and next year. Looking for investments, thoughts, and concerns. Yeah, so this seems like also very on trend with what's going on in the market right now, especially out there in India. And yeah, so it seems like it's the kind of thing that is readily available. However, what is the problem that you're really trying to solve? Is it that people are not able to rent in a fast and quick and easy and convenient pace? Or is it that they're not able to actually get the equipment once they are renting it online? Because what you're providing seems like it's a platform or an e-commerce site type of thing that can be launched online. That is great. However, you're not telling me the problem that you're really solving and how big that market is. And when it comes to farmers getting machine, farmers getting land, other agricultural companies getting whatever it is that they need, what is the core of the problem, and why is it a huge problem that we need to solve today? So because right now, if this is the entire elevator pitch, it kind of seems like it doesn't need to be an app, it just needs to be an e-commerce site. So you have to be able to make those kinds of distinctions in order to rest assure the concerns and the thoughts of the investors. Hi, Oli. I'll give you a wave too. Hello. Thank you for joining. Okay, so let's see. Other questions. Oh, hi, Tina. How are you? Are we back? I'm seeing a black screen. No sound either. No. Oh, okay. Okay, so okay, so now I'm going to find the next question here. Oh, okay, awesome. So the next question is from Calvin Chan from Hong Kong. I was just in Hong Kong. I was in Hong Kong in 2019. And yeah, it's a very interesting and very different market when it comes to investment for sure. So in Hong Kong, so he's raising funds for a startup project. What ticket size do you commonly work with? So that is a great question. So we work with valuations of about $1.5, $2 million, sometimes $5 million valuations. Our check sizes are $25,000 within whichever the round is. So it's very typical that in Canada and the US that our seed rounds are about $500,000, so $500,000 US. It could be more, it could be less. It just depends on how far along your business is, what your business is about, and what the allocation of the funds are. So this is actually a common mistake that I see in many pitch decks where you don't tell me what you're using the money for. Why would you do that? And so please make sure that your last slide not just has your name and your email, but also tells us like what the money is going towards. It will help us determine what the ticket size should be for this particular market and what the value of the deal is. So I hope that helps you, Calvin Chan in Hong Kong. And also just to let you know, for us to invest, you do have to have your main geography in Canada and the US. Okay, Adam Williams has a very interesting question. You're on the train. Where are you going, Ollie? Hi, Quinn. Oh, hi, Tina. Sorry, I called you Quinn. Thank you for coming. So yeah, so Adam Williams from Cumulus in the US is saying that he has a product. What it does is that it's performing a regional roll-up in the furniture sector of the Carolinas. So either North or South Carolina. So one of the two states. So that is great. I would love to know more about it. We are, as we have written on our site, that we are tech investors. So that means that we do mostly invest in technology startups. He also wrote his question as not looking for investment, just wondering about your level of interest. So if you're looking to do like a brick and mortar furniture store, because I'm not really sure what the product is, I just know the sector. So if you're looking to do more brick and mortar furniture, then that is for brick and mortar type and traditional type investors. So that's not really us. A great way to actually find that is I know a few startups have been looking for this, especially if they're kind of more in niche markets, that they've been using something called LinkedIn Premium or LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and you can write like the title of the investors as well as their types of industries. Another way to find the kinds of investors you might be looking for that are specific to your industry, if you are in a niche market, would be to go to AngelList. So that's ANGEL.co. And AngelList is a great kind of directory with a lot of different kinds of investors that are there. And time to time, they also write their industries as well. So it might be a really easy way for you to filter and find what you're looking for. So it looks like you're not looking for, hi, Dazzly. So it looks like you're not looking for an investment at this time, just level of interest. Yeah, so like I said, just go through those kinds of lists to see which ones might be best matched for you. If you're not really sure if you want to meet certain investors, because not all investors are going to be exactly the kinds that are right for your industry, just you can also take a look at usually their website on the front page, or in the FAQs would tell you the same kinds of things. Our FAQs do talk about the check sizes, the geography, and the industry. So we are mostly industry agnostic, but mostly in the tech sector. So if your furniture idea is in the tech sector, please let me know. Okay, awesome. You wrote a long question, Oli. You're back. Okay, you trained back home. Awesome. I love to North America, how to raise money. How to raise money in North America. Great question. We're finishing seeding in Belgium. Okay, congratulations. And it's very small tickets. Some people told me to move to New York. Okay, so people could say that literally about anything that you do in life. The answer could be just move to New York. So make sure you know why and where, and you're not just like there, right? So if you were to move to New York, line up a whole bunch of investors that are in New York for your particular industry. So like I said, you could go to AngelList, angel.co. You could go on our YouTube channel, which has a bunch of different investors that I've interviewed. It's on a show called Spotlight. So Spotlight is kind of like a Jimmy Fallon show, like a late night show, where you interview different celebrities like Hugh Jackman or Nicole Kidman or Meryl Streep, except I interview investors and we get to know them a little bit. So they talk about where they're from, they talk about their investment criteria, their philosophies, and they also talk about different initiatives, programs, or events that are just for startups. So that's also a great place for you to find the different investors before you make your big move to New York. And then the other thing is, does your particular startup company, does it benefit from being in New York? So benefit from being in New York, being able to launch in New York, being able to test in New York, that is very different. So what I mean is when Airbnb, Brian Chesky started his company in Airbnb, he was living in California, but most of his customers, if not all of them, were in New York because it was a big touristy city. So in order to actually get the data firsthand and understand why are people signing up but not really renting? Why aren't they actually renting on Airbnb's site? Our website looks great. We have the top, website designers ever. So they should be doing more. So what they did is that they went to New York. They moved to New York, and they slept on the couches of all these hosts that were on Airbnb to try and understand why they weren't getting more bites. And even though there were so many tourists that were coming through every day, And they got to understand that it was because the pictures were really bad. So then what happened was that they got a professional photographer to go into these dark, dingy kinds of apartments that New York had, and take way better picture with way better lighting. And people actually felt more comfortable than using their site and making rentals. So does your business in particular benefit from being in that particular city? Why and why not? Okay, so Manager John says, our company creating a SaaS platform which allows access and transparency between all data sources, create highways for data between any kind of data sources. Okay, super. Awesome. Data is super hot right now. Currently, we have clients using our product even though we do not have a proper SaaS system. Oh, interesting. How did you get clients to use your product when you don't have a proper SaaS system? That's cool. If we do not want to create a SaaS interface now, maybe a year, still want to get investment, how would you go about it? Perfect. So that is, I love this this story. So Manager John, great question. Thank you so much for sharing. I think it's so impressive that you were able to get customers, traction, engagement, being able to work with your customers to really then go back and build a product that your customer actually wants. And if you don't want to have a proper interface and all these things and you're still getting customers, what I would be testing for as an investor is this person getting consistently increasing revenue? So we call it MRR, monthly reoccurring revenue. That's MRR. And we want to see, okay, if you're getting 1,000 in January, are you getting 1,500 in February, 1,100 in February, 2,000 in February, and then so on and so forth, right? And then how are you doing in March? How are you doing in April? So the reason for that is because we want to see that you are consistently growing. How the actual product might not be so pretty, might not look like anything at the beginning is fine, so the reason why it's fine is because does it work? Are your customers begging for it? And are you getting more and more new customers every day? Or is the interface just so confusing that they have no idea what to do, that they don't know where to click on, that this is too engineered for them? So these are the kinds of questions that we would be asking once your investors kind of go around poking into it. And remember, your investors are coming through as consumers when they're looking at your product, right? So it's not supposed to feel like it's for everybody. It's supposed to feel like whoever your customer is supposed to be. And as long as you're able to really prove, hey, I got traction, I got customer interest, my customers are crazy happy with what we've built, and maybe we haven't built the prettiest interface yet, and maybe it's going to be in a year or two from now because that's not our biggest problem, then that's fine. You just have to be able to build that narrative when you're pitching it to them, right? And another story that I want to tell you is that a lot of people test by building not just like a simple MVP, but a simple like API. And because an API is easier to build than a full app, right? So being able to test things on an API or just building it that way as a plugin or an API or an extension or something like that, that is much more smaller, compact, takes less time to do than something that is full out on the App Store, looks so pretty, and be able to build out their customer base that way, but in the lowest cost efficient manner. Also, probably something you might want to use as one of the key words in your pitch is cost efficiency, because that's how you're planning to use your money very effectively, and therefore that's how you're planning to get your investors' money and use that very effectively. I hope that helps. Hi, Cecily, how are you? What level of traction are you looking for a seed or pre-seed round? Excellent. So yeah, so the level of traction is very different when it comes to America and Canada. So I do know that you are in America right now. So it does depend on what kind of industry that you're currently in. For us right now, what we are looking for is that we are looking for customer interest. We are looking for small incrementals of MRR, monthly reoccurring revenue. So the last investment that we have invested in, which is a SaaS product here in Canada, they did have MRR that it was growing even throughout COVID. And that is something that is very interesting to us because it shows that even during uncertain times, this particular SaaS product was necessary. this particular SaaS product was important. And so those are the kinds of things that we are struggling to always find, because we can see the economy as a whole, right? And we can see the market as a whole. That means that every 10 years, you're going to be going into a dip of a recession again, or a dip of kinds of uncertainty. Maybe not a pandemic, but some kind of uncertainty. And so being able to prove that kind of MRR in a pre-seed or seed round is amazing. The other thing that I want you to be aware of, if it's any of your first times fundraising, is that when it comes to pre-seed and seed and you have very few customers, we're probably going to call all your customers, because you'll probably have like 5 customers. And hopefully they will say amazing, great reviews about you, and you know, be over the moon about you, because that is also a level of traction. If you don't have a lot of revenue, then your investors, as a part of their due diligence, will likely call your customers, they'll likely call your partners, and everybody else. So yeah, so if you don't have your MVP and you don't have your traction ready, just be sure that you will have these other things ready that they will be able to call on. Another thing would be, of course, your letters of intent and your letters of recommendation and things like that. So letters of intent, what is important? We do have this up on the blog at blog.venturex.ca. So these are the items that we look for in blogs. We look for, in letters of intent. We look for what is the timeline, and what is the promise, and what is the amount of money. So it would be, for example, if I was to build a certain, I don't know, software system that is for RBC, it's one of the banks here in Canada. I would say, okay, so you will pay me $500,000 if I'm able to build a working, functioning model for your banking system, for whatever this is, in 6 months, and this is the timeline, and these are the milestones, right? So as many details as you have in this kind of letter of intent, the better it is, and the stronger it is. And what are the consequences if either party does not bind to this contract or this letter of intent? Because the reason we say that is because we do have some startups that have come without any kinds of, revenue, without any kinds of traction. Well, not traction, revenue, and they may not have customers yet, but they do have very strong letters of intent, and that could be strongly considered if the market is really big. But if the market is something that you can immediately prove, like with a Kickstarter campaign of some kind, yeah, a Kickstarter campaign is really good because it's a great example of a pre-sale. That means that you're selling something before the product is even made. So if you have any kinds of a crowdfunding campaign proof that this is traction, this is what the customer wants, this is what the market is saying, then these are all great, great examples of traction at the seed and pre-seed round. So I hope that helps. Oh, thank you, Ollie. Thank you, Manager John. Okay, awesome. What are your thoughts on investing in products that build on the network effect? Minimally, sorry, I'm getting tongue twisted. Minimal differentiation initially, okay, and then larger differentiation as the network grows, such as product, LinkedIn, yeah. So this is a really good question. So the last time that I was judging on an investor panel for 10,000 startups, this happened actually quite a lot. So this was in a different country. So this was in a different country. And oftentimes what happened was that we kept seeing these startups that had minimal differentiations for something that already existed in America. And it was very confusing for them to have to hone in on their differentiations, right? So if you're able to provide a minimal differentiation initially, right now the rule of thumb is the rule of 5, really. So how are you 5 times better than what's already existing on the market? Are you able to count all the 5, Like, are you cheaper? Are you more efficient? Are you faster? Is the design better? All of these different kinds of things. And of course, how are the customers using it? Why are they liking it? Because the more that you can build on things that are minimally different and make them bigger and bigger and bigger, the better. But then it just comes to more of a speed to market thing than it is an innovation thing. So you may not be the most innovative if you're not very, very different in pushing the envelope in a lot of ways. But if you are able to be like kind of first mover advantage in a very unique place, once you have that, whatever differentiation is, then that is great, because the market does tell you the direction of where things go. And so that is something that as investors, we turn to a lot for answers. Thank you, baby Zips. Hi, Ruman. Okay, awesome. Excellent. So I'm going to look in the other platforms. Okay, awesome. Yes, Cicely, I can see your questions on Instagram and LinkedIn. I hope that helps. Okay, so yes, so Tina, I'll recap. So I should be recapping every like 30 minutes or something. So now we're about 1:30. So we have an angel fund here in Canada. The headquarters is in Victoria, BC, and it's called VentureX Capital. VentureX is the actual platform where we have our startup platform that measures the engagement, the conversion, and the financial runway. So the engagement being how is your retention versus your usage, and the conversion being how are you converting your leads into sales, and of course the financial runway, just talking about your burn rate and your management in terms of your finances. So as the angel fund that is new as of 2020, we have about 15 partners. So I'm one of the partners, and every time that there is an investment, I put my own money in, and our lead partner, who is a Korean family office, also puts money in. The fund in total is about $10 million, and we all have different kinds of specialties, and we all look for different things. So when I'm talking about what I'm looking for, it really is just what I'm looking for. So I can only represent my part of the fund. So we are follow-on investors, which means that we prefer if you already came in with a lead investor, or you're very close to closing a lead investor. A lead investor just being the person who's most responsible for the due diligence and the checks and managing your next round and opening doors, hopefully for your next round, and for your future network and customer base. So when it comes to us, we have $25,000 checks. So one of the questions that I do ask those with higher valuations is, what is the minimum size check size that you are taking? And as startups, you are allowed to say no to any investor for whatever the reason is, of course. So don't be afraid to say no if the check sizes don't match what it is that you're looking for. That's perfectly okay. I am perfectly aware that there will be lots of people that'll say no to us in the future for whichever reason, and that's okay too. We are looking for industry agnostic startups. We just don't have as much specialties in other certain kinds of areas, but looking to grow that. You do have to be in technology, in software technology especially, so I hope that you are. And we also like to provide services such as webinars and interviews with investors and things like that, to just put more information out there for startups, regardless if you are in the North American market or not. Okay, so thank you, Tina, so much for asking that. I really appreciate it. And it was also very nice to meet you at StrikeUp. Okay, so hi, Sydney. We're working on a platform that assesses well-being issues, empowers people's health, and warns about potential risks located in Waterloo. Ooh, that is very interesting. So yeah, health and awareness, and so health being physical health as well as mental health, overall well-being. These are really great and hot issues right now. It's the kind of thing that as I was expanding my platform, VentureX, in different continents, I've noticed that certain developing and developed nations and things like that, they had different priorities on health, and how you are rolling that out is going to be really important, and how you are advancing. So there are some investors that are more specialized in health, and there are some that are even more specialized in mental health. So there's a few that are on LinkedIn who lead specialized funds because they themselves had, certain kinds of issues with drugs and alcohol or personal issues, stress and anxiety related. So they would invest in these great kinds of initiatives. And if I were you, I would look for more specialized investors than those that are just industry agnostic as your lead investor. Can lead investor be public money? So if by public money you mean IPO, no, that is not a lead investor. Lead investor is usually some kind of a venture capital firm or angel fund. It's usually a fund of some kind, and the people that are managing it are specialized financiers. Okay, so Jonathan. Jonathan, you write, "Hi, Marcelo, I'm Jonathan." Okay, founder of company Appy Eats. Ooh, what a very cute name. Healthy food ordering and delivering online marketplace that allows easy meal ordering during fast deliveries at affordable prices. I want to reach out to you as we have open Appy Eats. I think I'm saying it wrong. I think Appy Eats round of seed funding. So would you like to offer early access to $8 million pre-money valuation? So Jonathan, oh, you wrote this a few times. Okay, awesome. Okay, so Jonathan, thank you so much for your question. $8 million is a little bit higher than what we tend to invest in at pre-money valuation because we are so early. Is this so the questions that I would ask you, and you can type this out for me if you can. So the questions that I would ask you is A, is it pre-money valuation? Yes. Okay. So are you doing a seed round, or are you doing a pre-seed round or a Series A round? It sounds like you're doing a seed round. So if you have already lead investors, and what is your traction like? So for something that is business to consumer, which this is, it's a B2B as well as a B2C. But for anything that is ordering and delivery and food service related, we do count that as more of a B2C. So you must have a really, really, really big market and be able to show that you have increasing revenues, right? But how are you different from a lot of the other apps that are already on the market? Because there are other apps that are easy meal ordering as well as fast delivery, but they may not be both. However, okay, thank you, you're at seed round. But they may not be both, but however, if you're just combining two great features of two different apps into one, it still has to be more innovative than that, right? Because it's such a saturated market. I'll give you an example. Here in Montreal, I happen to live in the building that Foodora was a Belgium food delivery app that it just left. It just left Canada, it just left Montreal. And it left businesses with millions of dollars in debt because they decided to not pay the restaurants that were using them. And so they just suddenly left and picked up and left. And they claimed that the studies were showing that certain developed countries like Canada was a saturated market already. And, and that they weren't making enough money and the margins weren't enough. So my question to you as a Canadian investor myself would then be, how are you able to prove that study either wrong or obsolete, or how are you able to overcome this, knowing that this market may be a little bit more saturated? So for studies like that and these kinds of markets, that would force us to be a little bit more conservative and ask you a few more extra kinds of those questions. So when you are pitching to people that are accepting $8 million pre-money valuation, which is fine, just make sure that you have all of these questions in place, right? And that you know of these studies where your similar competitors are leaving certain markets that you're trying to enter in, and be able to refute as to why this is not going to happen to you. This is not going to happen to me in the next 5, 10, whatever years until our IPO or acquisition. So make sure that that's also in your deck. Okay, let me know if you have a follow-up question though. All right, so Cecily, what do you think of revenue models that are based on affiliate marketing? Okay, so affiliate marketing. So affiliate marketing has been around for a really, really long time. We all know it as consumers. Anybody who's used a web page ever definitely has known it. I have actually usually seen a lot of e-commerce businesses and online tech businesses use affiliate marketing as one of the revenue models, but not the main revenue model. So why not the main revenue model? Affiliate marketing has also just kind of one of those industries that's been turned on its head since COVID. You can see that people are not advertising the same way when they weren't able to open their businesses, right? So knowing who is opening up, when, where, why, and what the cost is. The weird things are that the costs may not necessarily be as low as you would expect, as low as it should be, probably when it comes to uncertain markets. However, there's a lot of proof that that businesses are still using affiliate marketing as one of the revenue sources, but usually just not the main one. So if you do have a couple of other ones that are in addition, then that is great, because until you have enough traction on your website for affiliate marketing to be relevant, it's going to be harder for you to show traction at such an early stage. Okay, so, all right, so Ollie, no, I meant country fund. I'm not really sure what a country fund is. Okay, all right, I'm glad you understand. Okay, Dazzly. Okay, you already asked the question. All right, awesome. Okay, so Jonathan, you wrote a follow-up. Our business model helps local restaurants by giving 0 commissions per order. We pay restaurants daily. Yes, I do understand that your business model is to help a lot of local restaurants. My point was more about the larger market. How are you going to address the market issue when one of the main competitors in the market has claimed that they have studies saying that certain countries have saturated markets in this particular sector? So then when it comes to more food delivery, more things, more apps, how is it that customers would stay engaged and interested in yours versus other people's? So saturated, it just means that there is an overload of players in one small market. Yes, I do understand that they have restaurants have issues with current food startups because of high commission. Yes, no, I do understand that as well, of course. But my question is more about the consumers. So if you're able to answer that, then make sure that that is also on your pitch deck. Okay, good. Good, it is not blank anymore. Perfect. Okay, awesome. So we have a few more minutes left. Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay, we just have another one. Great. Okay. So Irina Geller from Cream Coal out in Israel. So she has a very interesting product that is making the impossible possible. Okay, awesome. Bye, Ollie. Thanks for coming. And turns alcoholic beverages into edibles without food stabilizers. Okay, awesome. So this is definitely something I've never heard of. Is there a big market into why people want less alcohol and more edibles? So she's asking for my level of interest without a stabilizer. So I guess my big question is why? Is this a really big market? How big is the market? Has this been an issue for a while, or is this kind of like a nice to have versus a must have? Must haves, I would say, are more key when it comes to post-COVID as opposed to nice to haves, but it does depend on just whatever the more information about cream coal would be. So Irina, if you're here still, then please let me know please let me know more information so I can properly and thoroughly answer your question. Okay, Okhela, I hope I'm saying it right. Okhela from Nigeria is saying Rudy is a platform that is aimed at progressing the restaurant industry by enhancing efficiency, the customer experience, as well as cutting costs that we view as necessary of restaurants. Okay, awesome. So making restaurants a lot more efficient. I think that is definitely a great thing. I don't know what the different problems are in terms of efficiencies in restaurants right now. because a lot of them are not open, but I think that when it comes to understanding how big that market is, that would be interesting too. Unfortunately, due to geography, that is not one of the ones that we invest in. But my concern has to do with you are going into an industry that has been hit by COVID harder than almost any other industry. So how are you going to get them to sign on board and be able to pay for your platform? So hopefully you're able to find a way for them to find the time and investment to actually log on and onboard to your platform to be able to kind of see the benefits of it going forward. Because I think that, this is an industry that has been hit very hard, and therefore they may be very sensitive to new things and new changes. Hello, Paolo. Okay, so Paolo writes, hi, I hope all is well. All is great, Paolo, thank you. I'm writing to you today because at my company, the Low Carb Chef, I also like this name. You guys are great with these company names. We produce 100% grass-fed beef patties that are keto/low carb, healthy and delicious. It sounds delicious, making me hungry. Our company concentrates on using healthy ingredients, including superfoods, because they are nutrient-rich foods that add major health benefits to the foods we consume. They will be a great addition to your health food investment. Thank you. And we know you will love them, so will your customers. I have attached photos. Oh my God, he has photos of food. To the 100% grass-fed beef patties, as well as our packaging products. It would be great to meet you in person and sample beef patties. There's nothing more that I want than to eat a bunch of beef patties right now. And discuss the opportunity deal. Okay, great. So yes, so this is a great solution. I would love to know what the problem that you're trying to solve is, right? So a few things, Paolo. This is very nice written. This is so nice. Thank you. And yeah, so I would like to know what the problem is. Are there a lot of people who are on keto or low carb that currently on those diets that are they having trouble finding these health foods and ingredients and patties? Or are you trying to partner these kinds of grass-fed beef patties with places like Taco Bell, McDonald's, Subway, so all the places that Impossible Beef went in, Impossible Burger and Beyond Meat went into, and expand that way? Are you trying to do that and kind of become more mainstream in places that were traditionally known as less healthy but very fast food, in order to kind of be in an everyday market? Of course, with all of the burgery stuff around it, it will no longer be low carb. Or are you so kind of understanding the avenues of where you want to go is a big part. When it comes to health foods, you do have to understand also that even though I think it was the Impossible Burger that about 3 years ago, they won the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, which is a huge $100,000 person tech show. Cecily likes your beef burgers too. So you got a couple of interested customers already. Yeah, so you want to be able to take it to the US and Canada. So that is great. But again, which avenues are you trying to do it? Are you trying to be direct to consumer? So then you're kind of going through everyday households and selling them that way, and therefore saving all of the margins. And how are you able to ship them? Is it going to be with, the ice packages, the kinds of that Good Food or Hello Foods? I forget that. I think it's Hello Foods, and all of them use, or is it going to be something else, right? And then also, is it going to be on a subscription model versus a one-off kind of purchase? Are you going after certain kinds of regular restaurants versus the fast food restaurants? And which kinds of demographics are you trying to reach in these ways, right? Or are you going after all the barbecue joints in, the world? Oh, US and Canada. All the barbecue joints in US and Canada. And And yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to go about having a healthy food trend for sure. If you are specialized in one thing, then that is great because it's something that you can definitely do one show after another, like one trade show after another. Health food stores. Ah, okay, got it. Whole Foods, Costco, home deliveries. Yeah, so these are great. So there are some in Canada and the U.S. A lot here in Montreal that are very much more French specific. You just have to be able to have your labels in French and all the ingredients in French, I believe. To take to the manufacturer. So the big food VC that I would recommend here in Canada would definitely be Arlene Dickinson from Dragon's Den, because she has her own food accelerator specifically for startups that are in the food industry. And health food trends is one of the things that I believe that accelerator is really into. So that's located in Calgary, Alberta. And you can apply directly on their website. So this is not necessarily in tech, but it is more in food, right? Which is, I think, what you are going after. It is not a burger patty. It is a Jamaican empanada. Oh, even better. Also, if you were to meet in person with any investors, I highly suggest that you bring some of these empanadas and Jamaican patties so then they can try it and tell you how great it is. And if you have different varieties, bring all the different varieties. Pretty sure that's like the best part of Shark Tank and Dragon's Den is when they get to try out the stuff. It sounds delicious, though. Do you have other questions? So yes, so I would reach out to, I think it's District Ventures is what it's called, Arlene Dickinson's firm, the one that's related to health. So I would highly recommend that you do that, because having a big player behind you in the health space is really important, especially when you're trying to get into places like Whole Foods, Costco, and home deliveries. These are very competitive spaces. So having that strong network is super important. Okay, so we have a few more minutes left, so can have a few more questions here. Okay. Awesome. So Marco from Scalable Global Solutions out in Croatia. Ooh, cool, Croatia. Said a full service business process optimization solution company. So SGS is a company that offers tailor-made smart solutions to clients in the BPO. Okay, first, please do not use acronyms when the investors are not familiar with your industry. We don't know what it means. This happens every day. And the RPOs, I don't know what that is. Okay, aims to decrease operational expenditure. So I understand that it's a full service business process optimization solution to decrease operational expenditure. That's great. I don't know what industry it's in because they're in acronyms. So it's in some industry. So you're raising rounds seeking interest and experienced investors. Okay. So because I don't know what industry that is in, I think I am not experienced in this industry, unfortunately. Also, because of the geography, unfortunately, we cannot invest outside of North America at this time. However, if you need help with any kind of consultation services, or if you have certain kinds of startup questions like we're doing right now, you're free to join. Okay. So, Paul from Vancouver, AG Intel. So AG Intel, Ag Intel, I think. Yes, it is. Okay. So I'll answer your questions. Okay. I do see your question, Cecily. So I'm going to get to it right after. So Ag Intel is a precision agriculture company and the global leader in cannabis plant management using drones. Okay, so you're using drones and AI to help cannabis growers save thousands of dollars in labor and grow healthy plants. Looking for minimal investment of $100,000 Canadian, maximum of $1 million. Okay, that is a huge range. It's like a 10x. It's a 10x range. So what will you be using the money for? We don't have specialists in cannabis, particularly in our fund. So we don't know all that much about that. But it depends on where you are trying to execute. And how else can these systems be used? Can it also be used for regular farmers that is not specialized for cannabis? Yes or no? And how is this market growing? So definitely, because cannabis has been legalized in Canada and the US in recent years, it's definitely an upward trend of growth. A lot of our ones in Quebec area, the Quebec region where I live, it is more and more governed. So it is more towards the government. Is that part of your plan? Yes or no? To sell and or distribute or white label it to the government. And then, and then of course, how big is the market, and does it involve other kinds of growers or just cannabis only? And when it comes to other countries, how are you then executing it and launching it in those ways? I was talking to a great partner that is out in Argentina. We were talking about ag tech, actually. And we've come to the conclusion that a lot of agricultural technology here in Canada is a nice to have, whereas in other developing countries where the landscape might make it very dangerous for farmers and dangerous for humans in general, is really becoming a must-have. So how you are rolling out this kind of technology in different countries will be very interesting. So thank you for your question, Paul. Would love to know more. So Cecily, so we talked a lot about crowded domains today, especially in the B2C. Are there spaces you consider not so competitive and are currently hot? Yes. So one of the cool things that I get to do when I'm doing these different interviews, spotlight on our YouTube channel, is that we get to talk about the investor trends. And because something huge just happened, we called it a pandemic, our trends have really shifted, especially when it comes to the B2C, because we have gone to realize that the whole world's economy is suffering because of B2C. And then, because of these things, we have to then shift how the technology will then adapt to the new B2C world. So there were a few industries that definitely came into play. So one of them being the delivery services. How are you going to do that last step delivery? Right now in Montreal, it's still incredibly crazy contactless, where I live in a huge building, and Uber Eats and Foodora leaves it not in front of your apartment because they don't want to go inside. They leave it just on the porch, just basically on the street. And then they knock and run away, or they call you and then they run away. And so that's not ideal. I don't know why they haven't solved this problem in 1 year, but that's still what they do today. I always find it so funny because I keep thinking that this other people's food will be stolen. This is the last step scenario where this problem hasn't been solved. Another great one is, how we have allergies to food, having allergies to certain medication is something that we as people are still not actually developed enough to know what exactly we may or may not be allergic to, even in small quantities. So when it comes to health tech, there is a great potential in a B2C space for consumers to have more customized DNA-related medicine that's more customized for them, right? So it's not just you and I get the same Tylenol or Advil. We get different ones based on what our bodies are able to reject or be able to absorb better. So that's another really interesting one, is more customized health tech. Teletech is another interesting one where, for example, there was somebody in Italy that wanted to use voice therapy and AI and machine learning in order to get diagnosis on the phone. So recently I had a dry cough, and it's just from probably having a dry winter. So I had a dry cough, and my doctor won't see me here in Montreal. So he makes me cough into the phone. It is a landline phone, from the 1980s. It's the same phone that he has in his office. And I was like, you're not going to hear anything because I'm a perfectly healthy person, and you're not going to hear anything if I do a dry cough. So it was kind of insane that was what it was. So these are the kinds of areas that there's a lot of great innovation to be had. So we're closing the hour now. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming. My name is Sydney. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And until next time, I wish you guys a great rest of your weekend ahead. Bye.